Hey guys, hope you're doing well. It's Corey here, and I talked about making this video a little bit ago, and I haven't had a chance to do it, and I really feel like this is an important thing um, for our CG operators to have a better understanding of ProPresenter, um, to really get how it works and why certain things happen the way that they do. And so we're doing right now, what this is going to be a deep dive into ProPresenter and a couple of different things. Specifically, we're going to look at what ProPresenter calls looks, and I want to talk about the layer system in ProPresenter. Um, so ProPresenter is a presentation software. Obviously, I mean we use it. It is what we would consider mission critical to service production here at Wellspring. And so one of the things that is really powerful about ProPresenter compared to traditional presentation software like PowerPoint is that it does things in layers. You're able to put different pieces of content on different layers at once. And so that lets us do really cool things like overlay content on top of each other, for example, backgrounds and lyrics. It lets us show different pieces of content to different screens. For example, right now I'm showing the welcome screen to the LED wall and the announcement slides, the pre-roll to the side screens. And so it really is powerful. And I think that for us to really utilize this better or to be great ProPresenter operators, um, you really need to have an understanding of how that layering system works and how the looks system works within ProPresenter. And so I'm just going to kind of start getting into it. And so I don't know how long this video will be, but CG operators, please find the time to watch through this in its entirety at some point. I think it will provide some tremendous value to you, and I think that um, you'll become a better CG operator as a result of it. So uh, right now, what we're looking at is I just have the presentation or the playlist up for this past Sunday, which was the 8th. And so as we go through things, this will be the presentation of the playlist that we look at, just to show examples. And so let's go ahead and start by going into the screens menu of ProPresenter. So we, at the very top here, go to screens. We have a couple different things. It talks about our audience and stage, and then we have some configure stuff. So let's go into configure, and then I'll talk about what a lot of this stuff means. So in the configure screens menu here, we have two sections. We have our audience displays and our stage displays. I'm able to toggle them on and off at will. And what's the difference? Well, an audience display is something that the audience looks at, so something that's publicly facing, like as you can see, the things in here, we have our touchscreen, our LED walls, our ATEM, which is the video switcher that goes to broadcast, and this one here, which is labeled USK, which is a separate fill or a separate screen that we have set up for broadcast only. And I'll explain a little bit about how that works in a minute. And then under stage displays, we have a couple things. We have our confidence monitor. We have our multi-view monitor, which is on the screen right now. And the multi-view is what CG operator is looking at so they can see what's on the different various screens all at once. And we have our clock display, which is in the production suite above the main TV, so you can see what time it is, how much time is left on the timer, and stuff like that. So this screen here lets us basically create all of the outputs that ProPresenter is going to send, and then we map them to physical hardware. So you can see that the main LED here, the output is mapped to the main LED, and we tell it what resolution and frame rate we want to run at. So you don't need to worry about the hardware side of things, but just know that in the configure screens menu, we have the ability to map our ProPresenter outputs to a physical piece of hardware, like our LED wall, like our projectors, and like our touch TV. We also have the ability to do really cool things. We don't do a lot of these things, but for example, ProPresenter has the ability to blend multiple projectors together into one big screen, so we could set it up that way. If we had like a triple wide projector set up, um, like they do at Warrior Conference, if you've been to that. So really, there's a lot of cool things within here. But the screens menu is letting us again connect physical hardware to the ProPresenter outputs. Um, so that's really cool. The other important thing that I want to look at here is the looks menu. So up here under audience, we have edit looks. So we pull up the looks menu, and there's a lot going on here. So let me explain what we're looking at. So right now, we're looking at the pre-service look. So a look is basically ProPresenter's way of saying of saving um, a, a a a routing or an output mapping for specific layers to specific screens. So we're looking at the pre-service look right now. So during pre-service, for example, we're looking at touchscreen as this first screen. During pre-service, absolutely nothing is going to touchscreen. Um, every single one of these line items here is a different layer that we have the ability to work with within ProPresenter. So we have a mask layer that would let us mask out certain content. For example, if we wanted to make a screen into a circle, we could add a circle mask over this, and any content that gets sent to that screen will be filtered into that circle that we add. We have a messages screen. I'll explain what that is in a minute, or a messages layer. We have a props layer. We have an announcement layer. Our presentation layer is a little bit different, but underneath of that, we have slide and media. And then we have a video input layer. So there's a lot of layers that ProPresenter has in its ability to use. And so there's certain layers that we don't use. For example, we don't use the video input layer, so really these can be unchecked. We don't use that, but you could input a camera directly into ProPresenter and put that on a slide. Um, the media layer, so let's just go through these layers top to bottom, or rather bottom to top, and I'll kind of explain what each of them is. So the media layer is going to be something like this background graphic. So we're looking at multi-view here. We can see the background graphic is up on the LED wall and the overhead LED. You'll see that the worship look is selected. So let's look at worship look as we go into here. So in the top right here, by the way, this little mustache guy will show you which look is currently active. So right now it's worship. So we'll look at the worship look. We'll go in and we'll find worship here. So on the worship look, the main LED has the ability to show media as well as the overhead LED. So you can see that on our multi-view. That's exactly what we're looking at, is the LED and the overhead LED have the media layer. Then there's a slide layer as well. So the slide layer is going to be the actual text content that we put, so the lyrics on the screen, or in a sermon, it will be the presentation notes that are on the screen. So the slide layer is the actual physical content. We go into looks, you see the screens receiving the slide layer are the main LED and ATEM, which again is sending the signal to our video switcher. So when we look at this, you'll see presentation layer directly above that has these icons here. So what are these? Well, this is the ability to add a theme to a particular screen for the slide. So we have set up themes. So if I go and click on this, you'll see that the main LED wall in the worship look is being set to worship main LED top. And then the ATEM is being set to worship lower thirds. So that gives me the ability to have the same exact content on different screens, but have them be formatted and displayed in a different way. So that's why we have the ability to have the LED wall have the lyrics on the top, and the side screens have the lyrics on the bottom. We could also change things like fonts, colors, sizes, all that kind of stuff to have different looks across different displays. We have a couple other layers here that we want to look at. So the other thing that's active is a messages layer. This is something that's always active on the main LED wall. And what that is on ProPresenter here. This sidebar on the right contains a lot of really, really powerful features for ProPresenter. So we have our audio bin, our stage display preview, um, our timers, which we use all the time. And this fourth one, this little paper airplane, is the messages look. So we actually have a message in here for Wellspring Kids. And if I put in an example, I'll just put in test here and hit show to the multi-view, you'll now see that in the top left of the LED wall is a Wellspring Kids code, and it says test, which is what I just put in there. So that is considered a message. And we always, always, always have the message layer active on the main LED wall. So that way we're able to send things like the Wellspring Kids code when they're unable to get in contact with a parent. So let's look at something, a good example of something that might happen as we're navigating through our message here, as our playlist here. So we're going to go to the announcements graphic here. And we're going to say that we went through this last song here, and we're on that blank slide, right? Let's go ahead and hide that kids code real quick. So we're on that blank slide where we've just finished worship. We're waiting for the MC to come up. He comes up, he starts talking. He's going to start talking, and he's going to say his thing. He's going to intro himself, and we're going to click on his title slide. But oh no, what's happened? Well, you see on the LED wall, we actually are seeing the content for the title slide there. We're seeing Pastor Joey Ruggiero's name. We're seeing the background graphic that goes there. And then when you look at the side screens, it looks completely wrong. It doesn't match the way that the slide looks at all. Well, why is that? The reason behind that is because the worship look is still active. Notice I'm going to click this first announcement slide here again. Ready? I'm going to click that. When I click that, now the announcements look is active. So now that announcements is active, if I click on this title slide again, you'll see on multi-view here that the slide shows up correctly. It shows up in the exact way that we want it to. Well, what's different between worship and announcements looks? So the worship look has the main LED wall has the slide because we're showing lyrics on there. Overhead LED doesn't, and ATEM does. Well, if we go to announcements, what's different? I click announcements, and you'll see that no longer does the main LED wall show the slide because during that point, we don't want to show the lower third announcements on that main wall. You'll also see that the theme is no longer applied here. We have this icon here. Well, what happens when a theme is not applied? When a theme is not applied, the slide will look exactly how we formatted the actual slide to look. This is why it's so, so important for us as CG operators to make sure we're clicking the right slides in the right order. So what happens if, for example, I am in the worship look and I go here and it looks wrong? What is the right course of action? So the easy course of action is to just click this first slide and then come back to it. That will fix your problem. Sometimes, depending on what slide is clicked on, that may not be an option. So the other option is to come up to worship in the top right, click on this, and go and find the correct look for what we're trying to showcase at the moment. In this case, it's announcements. Um, there's a lot of different ways to fix it, but I think that understanding the layer system and realizing that things are operating on different layers, and so just clicking this slide is not going to automatically make that content go where we need it to go. We need to make sure we're triggering that audience look. Same with the bumper video. So if I go from here into the bumper video and I click on this, it's going to show it on the side, the main LED wall and the side screens. Well, what if the macro here, so you see these icons in the top left of these slides, these icons are referred to as actions, and they deem that something is going to change about the ProPresenter configuration when you click on that slide. In this case, this one sets the look to bumper video, and this one sets the look to announcements. So what if I'm on announcements and we get to the end, but this macro is not here? If I remove that and I click on this button,
Do you want
you'll see
transformation
that
in your life
the
in 2024?
bumper video is now on the
It's
LED
time that we
wall
start
and
declaring
the
over
overhead
our
LED. Well,
lives.
that's completely wrong. The
This is
overhead LED is
true.
not meant to show
Because
video
it's not
content.
about
It's
hope
very
in
split up. It
2024.
would look really
It's
messed up
about
and wrong.
declaring in
So that
2024.
needs to be set to bumper video. And you'll see now that the content is displaying correctly on all of the screens that we have set up. So I'm going to go ahead and add that macro back in. So we have weekend service, bumper video, just to make sure that that is still set up. There's a couple other things that I think are really, really interesting. So if we go into the message here and look at this, and when we click on that first slide, it triggers the message look for the touch TV. We have a couple different message looks because we don't always use the TV. So this is the message touch TV. So what's going on here? Well, it looks like we look at the LED wall, we have this graphic on the back, we have the same graphic on the overhead LED, and we have a different graphic on the touch TV. Well, that graphic is coming from the slide, that I can tell by looking at it. But where are the graphics for the LED wall and the overhead LED come from? Well, here's an interesting thing. If you look over at the right side of your ProPresenter screen, you'll see your preview, and you'll see a couple different buttons here that turn red. So these are known as clear buttons. So when you hover over it, it will tell you clear media, clear slide, clear props. So there's several different layers active. So if a layer is currently active and there's content on it, it will show red in this particular in this section here, so you know that there's currently content there. So what happens if I clear the slide layer? Oh, that clears the overhead LED. What happens if I clear the media layer? That clears the touch TV. What happens if I clear the prop layer? That clears the LED wall. So you can see that we are utilizing the different layers to their maximum potential to show different content on different screens. So we have the ability to navigate through this and make sure that whatever content we want on the touch TV is what we want. And it doesn't have to be the same as what's on the LED wall. But if we don't set these looks properly, it's going to really, really mess things up. So when we go through this, we talk about breaking the silence. We only want that on the TV. We don't necessarily want that on the LED wall. You go back to the graphic. We have a couple of points that we're navigating through this. Remember, this is a different layer than everything else. And we get to holiday schedule. Well, what changes? Now it's on the touch TV and the side screens. You see here we have a look applied. You can see the little mustache man. I can actually right click the slide, go to edit actions, and I can see that this is set to message, teach, touch, announcements, slide. So that will show, that's the look we would want to use if we're showing an announcement slide during a teach, touch TV moment. Similarly, if we go to the prayer and fasting, you'll see that there's a different look applied, and that's message, teach, touch, announcements, LT. LT stands for lower thirds. So if I click on this slide, you'll see that the touch TV has a full graphic, but the side screen has a lower third. How do we do that? Well, if we edit the slide, go in here, the lower third is a separate image that is in the slide. So when we're editing the slide, that means that we're working in the slide layer. But you see, I can't move the graphic. So where's the graphic? Well, the graphic is in the media layer, but the lower third is in the slide layer. So if I were to go into here and pull a different graphic in, say I just put this worship background in, now we're going to see the touch TV shows the media layer still, the worship background, and the side screens is showing the slide layer. So we really have to understand how these layers work to make sure that ProPresenter is displaying things the way that we want to. So I think that what would be really, really great for our CG operators is to spend some time come in on a rehearsal night if you have the ability to, and spend some time looking at the layer system. We can look at it more in depth in person and really trying to understand um, how ProPresenter displays different things and different pieces of content. Um, it's just a really, really important reminder video to make sure that when we're working through a playlist, when we're working through a presentation, that we're clicking slides in the order that they need to be clicked. Because if we miss the response slide, or if the blank slide at response, if we miss the blank slide at the start of announcements, if we miss the very first slide in the message, ProPresenter is going to mess up. The LED wall is going to look completely wrong, and it's going to be very, very noticeable. Maybe not online, but 100% it's noticeable in service, and that's something that we want to avoid. So I'm hoping that this video was helpful to you. Um, I know it's a lot of content, a lot of in a very short period of time. Go back and watch it, slow it down, understand the way that the layer system works for ProPresenter, and I think that you'll have a much easier time understanding how different pieces of content are being displayed to different screens and why it's so important to click on the right slides at the right time.